Hi everyone, welcome again to the Global Kitchen and Global Cooking School by Chef Hari. Today's lesson is basically comfort food. It's Indian comfort food, especially during the monsoons. And I'm going to be making pakoras for you today. Pakora, pakora, there are synonyms to the word, but essentially it's a fritter. And it's a fritter that's bound by often chickpea flour or garbanzo flour. There's some sort of a vegetable. You could also use meats, of course. Some spices, some perfect oil, and a nice little wedge of citrus and some fresh herbs and maybe a dipping chutney, and there you have it. So today's pakora is going to be fairly classic, but keeping in theme with my passion and my commitment to reducing food waste. I'm going to be doing an onion and carrot top pakora. So the process is actually very simple. Let me show this to you. This is going to beat any blooming onion and any onion fritter off the charts, if you will. Okay, there's no comparison. Slightly biased, but not really. So this is one white onion. It could be any kind of onion you want, yellow onion, red onion, what have you, thinly sliced. It's a thinly sliced onion. And now for the interesting ingredient. These are carrot tops that Jennifer got from her garden, from the garden that she grows at her medical practice, the plant-to-plate patient garden. So carrot tops, there are a number of things you could use with carrot tops, but I'm choosing to use these carrot tops as the green and the sort of earthiness for this onion carrot top pakora. Okay, so carrot tops. Just mix them up together a little bit. And now for some of the spices. Some salt. There's going to be a recipe, as you know, so don't worry about the proportions and the amounts. Some salt, and there's an actual chemical reason why the salt goes in here. You'll see in a moment why. Cumin powder, 1 teaspoon cumin powder. 1 teaspoon coriander powder. Half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This actually happens to be Kashmiri red pepper, which is fragrant and delicious and spicy in a great way. About a third of a jalapeno, chopped up very finely. You know me, there will be very few classes that won't have some use of fresh ginger. So this is fresh ginger that's been slivered with the skin on. And you just sort of mix this up ever so slightly. Okay? So what happens here is because we salted these onions and these carrot tops and the spices, the salt is going to draw out the moisture from the onions. So the point of making this fritter really light and delicious and airy is to minimize the amount of liquid you would add, right? So the moisture that's coming out of the onions are basically all you need to bind this fritter. Okay, there you have it. So this is the base. This is the base of this sort of fritter. Okay, onions, carrot tops, you could use kale, you could use spinach, you could use mustard greens, what have you, collard greens thinly sliced. The spices are cumin powder, coriander powder, some cayenne, or in my case, Kashmiri red chili, fresh ginger that's just chopped up, fresh jalapeno, fresh serrano, you could leave the hot peppers out, some salt. Okay, so I'm intentionally buying some time here. So the salt is doing its work. I can feel that these onions have started to sweat a little bit now. So now for the binder flour, if you will. It's common to use all-purpose flour in this country, but in India it's very common to use chickpea or garbanzo flour. So this is easily available nowadays in grocery stores. Now, the amount of flour depends on how much the onions have sweat, right? Or sweated, I guess. And you'll notice, I'll show this to you in a moment, not a lot, right? So I have quite a bit here. I'm not actually going to use all of this. And it's going to be fairly dry, okay? You want to sort of work this in a way that the onions, the moisture of the onions are basically all the moisture you need. I may cheat just a hair, and I may give it just a splash of water. So bear with me. Okay? Just a drop or two, just to kind of get it going. You'll see how much that is. Not much at all. There we go. As soon as you can barely hold it together, okay, I'm already there. And if you notice, the amount of flour is very minimal too, right? So it's chickpea flour and all of those aromatics and vegetables. This is a template to me. This is a template because I can do this with just about anything in the world, right? So you've got some vegetable, that's been cut to a proper shape, thinly sliced and shaved really. Some fresh greens of some kind, carrot tops, because why not? Some spices, some aromatics like ginger. You could add garlic for sure to this. Some salt, obviously. And that's it. This is kind of close, right? I'm actually going to add just a touch more, just to make sure it's not just pure onion. There we go. So if you were to ask me how much did I add, this is probably no more than a quarter cup of garbanzo flour. So with one onion, much less than a quarter cup of garbanzo flour. This is plain vegetable oil that's been preheated to 360 degrees Fahrenheit. So you'll often hear that the oil temperature when you do frying, unless it's a double fry or a triple fry like you do with French fries typically, the oil temperature should be at minimum 350 degrees. Well, this is 360 degrees because I want the caramelization to happen fairly quickly. Okay? And I don't want this fritter to soak up too much oil. And that's it. You're looking at it. Okay? That's just a matter of frying. Now, how much do you add at a time? Just a little bit at a time. You'll see it's a little hard to work with, but that's okay. That's part of what happens here. Right? Don't be afraid to hold your food, handle your food. You know, after all, you're going to be putting it into your mouth and your body. So really, if you can't trust your hands with handling your food, as long as you practice sanitary kind of practices, very typical and topical these days, you should kind of worry about cooking at all, right? So anyway, so this is ready to go. This onion, this oil, I can smell it actually, is already preheated, 360 degrees. You drop the fryer basket, let the fryer basket sort of hang in there for a little bit. And what that does is it actually heats the bottom of the basket. So if this fritter should go all the way to the bottom, it's not going to stick to the basket. It's a standard trick. When you fry things and there's a fry basket, drop the basket into the hot oil for just a little bit. That's it. It's ready to go. You'll hear this go in just a moment. About this much. Right? So maybe about 1.5 inch ball. Now don't form a ball, just kind of barely hold it together. And you want this to be sort of unevenly shaped. Okay, so there you go, one. And go, it's frying. Ready to go. This won't take long at all. This will be finished in real time, which is great. It's not often that I can make a dish from start to finish in about 10 minutes or so, or 12 minutes or 15 minutes. But this one I certainly can. Now, of course, the only mise en place that I did was to gather these ingredients ahead of time and slice one onion and pick a few carrot tops, right? I mean, how long does that take? Not really. And there you go, one more. I can get one more in here. And there you have it. Okay, so I'm going to get the very last bit of this. I don't want to waste this too much. And voila. So the onions are frying, they're doing their thing. And, this would be the time to go grab a beverage naturally and kind of, just like they say, how much time do you have to watch water boil? Well, how much time do you have to watch some onion fritters fry, right? So it's a good idea to have a tool, a fork or something, that will be able to turn the fritters so that it's golden brown on both sides, right? So I can see this happening. It's 360 degrees. What happens naturally is because the product was cold and the oil was hot, you can see the temperature has gone on. That means the oil has dropped its frying temperature. And just keep an eye on that. Okay, you don't want it to be dropped too low for too long, because that has the propensity to soak up an excess amount of oil, which is certainly not desirable. Okay, so let me show you the contraption that you would typically use to catch fried products. Now, it's very common for people to use a paper towel, right? And sure, that's good, but that's an interim project. That's an interim kind of solution. Once this comes out of the fryer, you can certainly dab it on the paper towel, but very quickly take it off the paper towel. And you will have it, you really prefer, it's more preferable to have it sitting on a slotted area such as this, a grated area, right? And so what that does is, the paper towel, yes, you've got a fried product on it, but it's absorbing the oil on that bottom side of that kind of fried object, especially when it's a battered object, as opposed to a lightly battered object, like lightly frittered object like the onion pakoras are. If it's heavily battered, the side that's hitting that's in contact with the paper towel, it starts to get a little soggy, if you ask me. So in restaurants, for sure, when we fry things, we always have it here, so that on a contraption with a sheet tray, so that when the fried object sits here, unlike cookies, just as cookies I would say, that there's this air gap here, and there's this free flowing of air which maintains the crisp result that you worked so hard to create. Okay, so I can tell that these onion carrot top fritters are ready to turn. So I'm going to do that. Oh, I can see they're golden brown. Right, so one side and the other side. Voila. Now, in terms of what would you serve with something like this? Well, there are a myriad of solutions, right? A myriad of possibilities. Your favorite chutneys, your favorite sauces, there's really no end to that. In my opinion, because you've already got some wonderful warm spices in the fritter itself, there's really no need to have a heavy dipping sauce. It sort of, if anything, takes away from that really nice spiced flavor that we've worked so hard to create. So my solution is to actually serve this fritter with simply a wedge of lime that can be used to kind of squeeze on top of the fritter when it's done. And why not present some carrot tops as garnish? Now, I've always cooked in a way that things that are on the plate should be consumed, right? So these carrot tops actually have a nice earthiness. They're actually edible, totally edible. Why wouldn't they be? I'm using them in the batter. So the earthiness of the carrot tops, the freshness and the vibrancy of the citrus juice, in this case lime, and the warm spices of the decadent sort of onion and carrot top pakora, I think are all you need, right? So imagine this is a monsoon day for me in Mumbai growing up, and in the middle of the afternoon on the weekend when my mother wasn't giving lessons, tutoring students, my father was home, we would almost always beg for these pakoras, and it would be a great sort of a treat when our begging sort of came to fruition. So this always takes me back, right? So when I do onion pakoras, I used to serve onion pakoras a long time ago in the restaurant. Every time we did a curry, we garnished it with an onion pakora. And I think the folks who ordered the curry would order the curry primarily to get the pakora. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times we got requests for extra pakoras. Well, we didn't really have extras. We just were frying as many as we needed. So there you have it. I mean, this is close, okay? This is just frying. It's doing its thing. You really can't rush this too much. It just has to be golden brown on both sides. It has to be cooked on both sides. I mean, it's an onion, so frankly, you could actually eat it without it being completely cooked. But you do want the onions to be somewhat translucent, the batter to be golden brown, and that's basically it. Standard sort of standards for when a fried object is ready to be consumed, right? So I would say I'm going to give this maybe 2 minutes or so, if that. I have a clock over here. It's 1:11. That's a great time. 1:11, of course, consists of all ones, and this is a shout out to anyone. It's totally coincidental. I didn't plan this at all. Anyone who follows cricket, a score of 111 is referred to as a Nelson, I believe. Any cricket aficionados out there will correct me, I'm sure. But the time is a Nelson. It's now 1:12. Another minute or so, and these onion carrot top pakoras are going to be ready. They're going to come out. I'm just going to present them on the plate for you, show you the garnish. I might even consume one. I'm not sure. I don't want to burn my mouth too much, but I'm quite sure they're delicious. I don't really have to taste the batter because I know how much salt I added, and this lime juice is going to round off the flavor completely and deliciously. Okay, so this is there. Okay, it's 1:12, 1:13 almost, just as I said, 2 minutes from when I last called it. And there you have it. This is ready to come out. This is ready to hang out, if you will. I'm going to show this to you in just a moment. So I hope you've been spending your time, given that we're partially quarantined these days, honing your cooking skills, discovering new cuisines, certainly discovering the inner chef in you, the inner cook in you. People always say to me, so I'm not a chef or I'm not a cook, and my response to that is always, yes, I'm a chef because I'm professionally trained and I get to make chef-like decisions and I get to pay bills, right? But basically what I do is I cook. I don't chef in the kitchen, I cook in the kitchen. Similarly, you're not chefing in your kitchen, you're cooking in your kitchen. So there you go. That was a little idle banter as I waited for this fritter to sort of do its thing and dry properly. Okay, so I'm just going to catch some of the excess here. You're going to see how beautiful this is. Okay, there you go. Just going to catch this for a moment. Now, if this was a different show, you might season this with some sort of a spice blend. Certainly you can taste this. It doesn't need anything. I'm not going to lie to you. If it was slightly undersalted, I would have been tempted to finish with a little bit of salt. But it is perfectly cooked. It is perfectly cooked. I can't emphasize that enough. So once it drains on the paper towel for just a hair, typically you would then drain it on the rack, right? This is the drying rack, if you will. That's it. I'm just going to plate this for you really nicely, and you're going to see what happens. So, simple plate. Onion pakora. A little wedge of lemon, or lime in this case. Some carrot tops. There you have it, folks. That's onion and carrot top pakora. And that's what it looks like, right? So carrot tops, some fresh lime, and the pakoras themselves. And I can assure you that once you make these, they're going to be a staple in your pantry. Thank you again for joining me, and have a great day. Ciao.